Imagine you walk into a restaurant, sit down, look at the menu, and you order the fish. Sea bass, pan-seared, lemon butter, the whole thing. 20 minutes later, the waiter comes back out and sets down the most beautiful plate you've ever seen. The garnish is on point, the sauce has been drizzled perfectly, and everything smells incredible. So you pick up your fork, cut into it, and it's a photograph. A high-resolution, professionally printed, laminated photograph of a fish. The waiter leans in and goes, "Isn't it beautiful? Don't you feel something?" And before you can say a word, the guy at the table next to you is in tears. IGN walks in, sits down, and gives it a 10 out of 10. That is what gamers have been feeling since Mixtape dropped. Now, before anyone in the comments starts warming up their fingers, I am not here to tell you Mixtape is the worst game ever made, but if your skill and your actions have no meaningful impact on your game's progress, I don't know why we're still keeping up with the gimmick that this is actually a game.
Where's the gameplay?
If you can put the controller down, walk to the kitchen, make a sandwich, eat the sandwich, come back and find the game still playing like you never left. What you are watching is a movie with controllers and stuff, and somebody gave it a 10 out of 10.
What are we doing?
Now, before we get into the reviews, there's something you need to know about who's standing behind this thing. Mixtape is published by Annapurna Interactive, the game's imprint of Annapurna Pictures, which was founded by Megan Ellison, daughter of Larry Ellison, the 5th richest man on the planet, major Trump donor, and one of the largest private funders of the Israeli Defense Force in the world.
What is your connection to Israel?
Well, the renewal of the Jewish state is something that I think touches all of us.
Now, Megan Ellison did not make Mixtape. The game was built by a small Australian studio, and Annapurna's role was funding and marketing, which probably explains why the moment the reviews dropped, people started asking questions. Because at most, it looked like someone was paid to give this a 10 out of 10. Because what the hell? Was this an industry plant? Was Megan Ellison big black strap on that good? Was it chocolate glazed? Was it well lubed? It's in line to call it a musical delight from start to finish that sets a new standard for coming-of-age stories and games. A 10 out of 10. Now, I want to be fair here. IGN France, the same publication with a different reviewer, gave it a 7 and called it too linear, lacking player interaction and more of an anecdotal experience than a game. The Guardian gave it 3 stars. PC Gamer called it a good movie. Even Powerless Homelander had more dignity than what some of these reviewers were willing to do for this game. And look, when did a game becoming a musical delight start becoming the bar for a perfect score? Every Need for Speed game has had extremely delightful music. The Age of Empires playlists, GTA San Andreas, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. But you know what all of those games have that Mixtape doesn't? Actual gameplay. You know, the thing we buy the expensive thingamajig and break our thumbs for. Plus, why would I need a game for music? I already have that covered with Spotify. Here's the part that broke the internet, though. The game's soundtrack, the thing the entire identity of Mixtape is built around, has a serious problem. This is a game set in the early 90s in California about a teenager who wants to become a music supervisor. And the playlist has Joy Division, The Cure, Alice Coltrane from 1971, B.J. Thomas from 1968, Roxy Music. Beautiful songs, real taste, no argument there. But there is not a single hip-hop track anywhere in this game, not even by accident. A game called Mixtape, the word that black culture gave the world, the format that built careers from Biggie to Lil Wayne, looked at that entire lineage and said, no thank you, we'll take the post-punk British imports. Meanwhile, GTA San Andreas, also set in early 90s California, had a radio station for every culture in Los Angeles and actually sounded like where it said it was. Rockford is supposed to be a music connoisseur, and her playlist sounds like a film studies professor's Spotify Wrapped. And speaking of films, let's talk about what IGN is actually saying when it calls itself a new standard for coming-of-age stories. Because the IGN reviewer who handed out that 10 out of 10 also listed his personal top 10 coming-of-age films in the same article. And sitting right there on that list is Dazed and Confused, the 1993 film about a group of friends on their last night together before summer, cruising around with no real destination, pure vibe, no plot, just youth, which is exactly what Mixtape is. And also on that list, Lady Bird, the 2017 Greta Gerwig film about a girl who wants to escape her small California hometown for the East Coast, rebels against her parent, lies, sneaks out, chases a dream her family thinks is above her station, and leaves, which is also exactly what Mixtape is. The man reviewed Mixtape, gave it a perfect score, called it a new standard, and then listed the 2 films it copied as personal favorites in the same piece. That is not a review. That is a man describing his own reflection and calling it original. That level of self-unawareness deserves its own trophy, a podium, and a speech. And you know who I partly blame for all of this? Rockstar. Because when the creators of Red Dead Redemption 2 showed the world you could make a game feel like a film with real performances, real emotion, real cinematic weight, that became the target. Except what Rockstar understood, and what studios have been misreading ever since, is that RDR2's cinematics worked because the gameplay earned them. Arthur Morgan's story hits the way it does because you lived it with him. You rode with him. You made choices with him. The cutscenes meant something because you had skin in the game, literally. What Mixtape did was look at that formula, remove the gameplay, keep the cinematics, and call what remained a 10 out of 10. So here's where we actually land. Mixtape is not the worst thing ever made. If the music hit you right and the story reminded you of someone you knew, that experience was real and it was yours. But a 10 out of 10 is not, this made me feel something. A 10 out of 10 is supposed to mean this is as good as it gets. And as good as it gets cannot be a 3-hour experience where the controller is optional, the playlist skips an entire genre that the title implies, and the story is dazed and confused with a worse soundtrack.